Hey, what's going on, guys? This is going to be a quick overview of the Wired really good article on car subscriptions features raise your risk of government surveillance. Police records show this is becoming somewhat of a dystopian era where cars used to essentially be a place where people felt they could have private conversations. It could be much more, nothing's listening kind of thing, and you're not being tracked in your fucking car. Like, yes, the state knows you have a car. Yes, they know your address, but now it's getting worse. And if you live in America, you essentially need a car in society. Do you need a new car? That's subjective, but a car nonetheless. Unless you live in like really good metropolitan areas that have good train like public transportation, which doesn't really exist. And I would say the direction we're going, that biking and public transportation might be the more private option if you can so. So this was posted on 2028, I think. Yeah, 2028, 2025. Automakers are increasingly pushing consumers to accept monthly and annual fees to unlock pre-installed safety and performance features, from hands-free driving systems and heated seats to cameras that automatically record accident situations. Just get a dash cam. There, I solved it. Don't pay a subscription, get a dash cam. But there's another level. There's additional levels of internet connectivity this subscription model requires can increase drivers' exposure to government surveillance and the likelihood of being caught up in police investigations. A cache of more than 24 police records recently reviewed by Wired show that U.S. law enforcement agencies regularly train on how to take advantage of connected cars, with subscription-based features drastically increasing the amount of data that can be accessed during the investigation. The records make it clear that law enforcement's knowledge of the surveillance far exceed that of the public and reveal how corporate policies and technologies, not the law, determine the driver's privacy. Each manufacturer has their whole protocol on how they operate, how the operating system in the vehicle utilizes telemetrics, mobile, Wi-Fi, etc. One law enforcement officer noted that in a presentation prepared by the California State Highway Patrol and reviewed by Wire, the presentation, while undated, contains statistics and connected cars from the year 2024. If the vehicle has an active subscription, quote unquote, they added it does create more data, quote unquote. That's scary. That's scary because now you have these cars, like you get a new car, you had yours for the last 20, 10, 15 years. It's broken down. It's becoming too expensive to maintain. And now you have this. You get a new car from 2024. Oh, you want heated seats? Subscription. Now that's a payment. That's an extra thing about this. That's an extra layer of payment. That's an extra third party. That's an extra branch in your privacy security that is now being tracked, that can be exposed, and that now can be exploited. Why the fuck would I give my car, my debit card or whatever, for heated seats, or have to pay a subscription? Imagine paying a subscription model for a fucking dash cam to record while an accident happens. I mean, just get a dash cam, like that'll save you. But the heated seats is pretty retarded. And we're not going to really have a choice maybe in the future where people continually get pressured into a lot of these quote unquote featured vehicles at an insane price. It's almost borderline impossible to get a decent car, under like 30 grand in general. I would say your best bet is to buy an older vehicle. TLDR, buy an older vehicle, maintain it, do your research on high mileage maintainable cars, and no rust. You're awesome. But I digress. The CHP presentation obtained by government transparency nonprofit Property of the People via public record request trains police on how to acquire data based on a variety of hypothetical scenarios, each describing how the vehicle data can be acquired based on the year, make, model of the vehicle. The presentation acknowledges that the access of the data can ultimately be limited due to choice made not only by the vehicle manufacturers, but the internet service provider on which the connected devices rely on. One document notes that, for instance, when General Motors vehicles equipped with an active OnStar subscription, which, that's been around for a long time, probably not good, honestly, will transmit data revealing its location roughly twice as often as a Ford vehicle, with the different ISPs appear to have not only different capabilities but policies when it comes to responding government requests information. Police may be able to rely on AT&T to help identify certain vehicles based on a connected device in an active car, but lack the ability to do so when the device relies on a T-Mobile or Verizon network instead. That's crazy. So, hey, you buy this car and it's like, oh, AT&T is pre-installed, and they're like, yeah, of course, we will hand over that. You don't even have to ask. We'll just do it right ahead of time. Like that, to me, that's insane. There's definitely a role being played by the companies in deciding what standards they're going to give. The surveillance litigation director of the EFF, and this is a dynamic we have seen in other areas of tech, Google, Facebook, Apple, where they all comply with law enforcement. If you remember Mozilla doing this back in the day, just like a couple, like earlier this year or like last year, Mozilla had a division that talked about the role of cars and how they're not private. They're awful for privacy. And then this just exposes a lot of security problems too, as well, because they have to connect to the internet. Well, what do you expect? If you need an app in order to download your car, if your salesman is forcing you to get an app, that's crazy. To use your car or whatever, you know what I mean? Like, that's insane. I was listening to Firewalls Don't Stop Dragons on this specific issue. And the lady was like, oh, yeah, when we were at the dealership, we were just trying to get an affordable, decent car. And they're like, oh, you should download the app. You have to download the app to connect to your car. And they're like, no, we're good. We don't want to. But if they don't give you a choice, then they don't first stand the fuck up and walk out and just go to the used car lot and buy a car from like 2010. But we ought not to be positioned to buy a vehicle that needs to connect to the internet and that isn't 20 years old. Like, I need to be given a choice, and it's really becoming like no choice, which is kind of crazy. Nearly all subscriptions are based car features rely on device that comes pre-installed in a vehicle with cellular connection necessary only to enable the automaker's recurring revenue scheme. The ability of a car company's char users to activate some features is effectively the only reason the car system needs to communicate with the cell towers. The police document note that the companies often hook customers into adopting the services through free trial offers. Crazy, by the way. And in some cases, the devices are communicating with cell towers even when the user declines to subscribe. In 2022, an August 22 email, one detective noted that in some vehicles, again, it depends on the manufacturer, the vehicle is still doing this despite the lack of active subscription and just sending them back to the mothership. This could be due to collecting user data for when the manufacturer sells it for, or providing this data to try to sell you on renewing your subscription package that lapsed. The tower dump technique was becoming increasingly unpopular in the U.S. courts following the Supreme Court's acknowledgement in 2018 that location data raises significant Fourth Amendment concerns. It should. While the Supreme Court specifically avoided addressing tower dumps in landmark U.S. v. Carpenter decision, a Fifth Circuit ruling last year that placed the capability in great jeopardy, concluding that a warrant to geofence an area and collect evidence from a wide variety of individuals is inherently unconstitutional, as it should be. Now, on the back of the decision, a federal magistrate in Mississippi ruled 2 months ago the tower dumps are likewise unconstitutional, while a tower dump and a geofence are not precisely the same. The fuck? The latter relying on GPS coordinates obtained from the internet companies such as Google as opposed to a cell tower. I mean, my personal advice and my personal take is that if you need GPS, use your phone. Organic Maps, it's offline, it's free to use. You can download all the maps that you want. We are increasingly getting better offline map capabilities. Do not use this. If you need location jacking in your car uh, because you're afraid, I don't know what to tell you. Mitigate the data that it collects if you can. And you shouldn't have to read through privacy policies to buy a fucking car. I personally think that if you can even go as far as dumping the car altogether and just public transportation cycling, probably your best bet until you can find a vehicle that is reliable enough, repairable enough, that does not need any of this garbage that is either infringing on your privacy and your rights and possibly being used to surveil you from the government. That's not the way society should work. If I'm in public and it's a CCTV camera and I choose to not cover my face, that's within reason because I'm in public. But if I'm in the privacy and the sanctuary of my car driving, I should not be able to be tracked by God knows who, what, and when. And then my data being sold off to another person. Hopefully, in the future, there's going to be some really awesome reverse engineers that could maybe rip or neuter the shit out of this stuff out of these cars after you purchase it. It is crazy. And then when you go down, I mean, this is a relatively lengthy article, not super long, but towards the end, it's like an AT&T spokesman, Jim says, like all companies, we are required by law to provide information to law enforcement and other government entities by complying with court orders, subpoenas, and other lawful discovery requests. In all cases, we review the requests to determine whether they are valid. We require search warrants based on the probable cause standard for all governments to determine real-time or historical location information, except in emergency situations for government demands for cell tower searches. We require a probable cause search warrant or a court order except in the emergency situation. What's an emergency? They can just make anything up and be like, oh, it's an emergency. Government law enforcement could come up to you and say, it's an emergency. And then it's not an emergency. Recently, Stellantis had some Jeep owners not too long ago get ads shoved into them when they were using GPS without their consent, people's consent. Not too long ago, the Ring doorbells were being used by law enforcement with no warrant, just asking people to share their footage so that they could stop, quote unquote, heavy quotes, stop crime. That was retarded. You know what I mean? We could go down the list of where everything could be considered an emergency in the law enforcement's eyes, where they make irrational decisions to infringe on people's rights to deter crime or stop crime. You know, heavy quotes in there. It's really becoming an era, and I urge people to not only think about your next car purchase, but think about your next purchase, subscription purchase through your car. Like, think about, like, do I really need heated seats? Do I really need navigation through my car? Do I need any of these things? You know what I mean? Do I need the 2025 Ranger? I even suggest go back and get a very basic car. Go get a Toyota Tacomas are apparently like 2004, 2005, 2006, 2010. Toyota Tacomas are loved by people that like utilitarian cars, like functionality cars. Go get yourself a Subaru Forester. They're amazing. Go get any car that you can literally fix yourself and hopefully never have to worry about this because it'll outlive you. That would be my suggestion. And reject these car companies from being able to do this. You know, buy with your dollars if you can. If you cannot buy with your legislation, buy with your dollars. Like, vote with your, if you cannot vote with legislation to get rid of this kind of shit, I would say vote with your dollars by rejecting these newer vehicles. that definitely do not respect your privacy, because like they said, they're probably just selling this off. And with that, I'll see you guys in the next video.